So, welcome to our show, which is we don't know what the name's going to be yet. So, we're just going to call it the podcast for now. Once the show's actually named, we'll probably come back to this. And actually, I'm not going to mess with this. We'll just leave this because this is raw. This is what I want people to see. Like, this is what it looks like. Like, you just start recording, start doing something, and you just do it. Like, it doesn't matter. We're getting all hung up on a name, but we're going to pick something very soon here. But it's just like, you don't want to get all hung up on little stupid details like this. Just start doing it. So that's why we're doing this. We're recording this and we're, just going to keep doing it and get better at it. And that's how business is.
Improve it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
look, I'm adjusting my camera,
Yeah. Yeah. That looks good.
whatever.
No, that's better. So the last show we touched on some subjects. We were talking about shiny object syndrome. And just for me, I don't know. How do you feel about shiny object syndrome, Pansy?
I think I look at it differently than other people. Like,
Hmm.
I believe we have the ability and capabilities and resources to do many things.
Mhm.
So if I can pretty much comprehend something and comprehend those people that could help me with that, I'm like, I'll have a million things going on.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I got really hung up on shiny object centers, like everybody does, right? Everybody does, and I don't know. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy, and we do it because we think somehow that we're going to learn all of these things and get better at all of these things. But the reality is, you just get a little tiny bit better at a bunch of things, and you never really move the needle forward. You never master any of them. You just kind of get a little bit better gradually on all the things. But think about it. Your retention. What do they say? Like your retention when you watch a video. Actually, there's a good slide about oh, where is it? Let me find it really quick. There's a good slide that talks about your retention of information with different mediums, right? Mediums. So like when you read a book versus when you watch a video versus when somebody is speaking to you in a classroom setting versus when you're teaching something or whatever. So hold on.
Sure. And I'm sure it's different for everyone,
Right.
you know, and it probably depends on, are you really interested in something?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So check this out. So what would you think would be the highest form of learning, the most effective way to learn something? What would you think that is?
Me personally, hands on, like get in there and just do it.
Right. Well, so yeah, so okay, so practice by doing, that's one of the highest ones, 75% retention, right?
Yep.
When you're actually doing it. So that's one, but it's not the highest one. It's not the highest one, believe it or not. So, lecturing or when you're sitting in a classroom getting a lecture, that's like actually one of the lowest ones. You're retaining about 5% of what's being spoken to you.
I believe it.
Yeah. Reading, about 10%. You retain about 10%. Audio visual learning, like videos, about 20%, which is actually higher than I thought it would be, but it's about 20%. So then we go into demonstrations. So when somebody is speaking, but also demonstrating something to you, you have about a 30% retention. Group discussions where everybody's engaged, where you're talking about something and discussing something, you actually have about a 50% retention. That's why mentorships are so good and communities are so good and connecting with other people and having those discussions, you actually retain stuff quite well. But it's not the best. Then you have taking action, which is 75%. The best, absolute best way to learn something is by teaching it to other people. If you can teach something to other people, not just teach it, but teach it and explain it to in like 5-year-old, you know, grade 5 level,
Yeah.
right? That means you know it. You have to know something in order to be able to teach it. So, and even if you don't fully know it, if you just practice teaching people what you already know, it's amazing, like the pathways that get opened up in your brain.
Yeah, I mean, you don't always necessarily, I guess, know everything that you do have retained,
Right,
until you're actually needing to use it. And
right,
then, like, I don't know if you've had those experience, like something's happening, and then you're like, oh, da da da, da, and you tell them what to do, and you're like, I didn't even know I knew that.
right, right,
It's
right.
like, how did
Yeah,
I know that? Like, but obviously, somewhere along life, you picked that up, right? So
right.
it's, I believe we retain a lot more than we think we do. It's just we haven't had a reason to use that knowledge.
That's true. Yeah, and then when you put yourself in that situation, you can kind of surprise yourself about how much you actually remember when you start teaching people what you know. So, but this all kind of ties into like when you get that shiny object syndrome, like what are you actually doing? If you're actually taking action and doing stuff, you know, the problem with doing multiple things is that our brains aren't designed to do that. And in fact, the more you're doing, the more you're task switching, the more stress you're putting on yourself, on your brain too. Like you're constantly going back and forth between tasks or doing this thing for a little bit, then doing this thing, then doing this thing, then do you just you're eventually going to hit a brick wall. Like it's just it that's what's going to happen. You get burnt out because your brain but when you focus on something, when you shut out all the noise and you just focus on something and don't do a bunch of task switching because you're not multitasking, you're task switching. Um, you you can actually get a deeper level of understanding. You can get things done a lot more efficiently. And all the crazy thing is that all the other stuff, like I said before, all the other stuff you're going to learn anyway. Like all the other things you wanted to learn, if you focus on one for in real estate, for example, like if Pansy and I had just focused on buying assets as opposed to trying to learn wholesaling, we would have learned about the wholesaling part while we were doing that anyways, right? We may now I don't regret learning to wholesale, but it's like, did I need to go down that route in order to learn how to buy properties? No, right?
Well,
I don't
not
know.
not
It's
necessarily, but
yeah,
knowing that helps us to know what a deal is,
it
what
does,
we want to purchase. So,
but see, here's the thing, you can leverage other people that know what deals are, right?
yeah,
We don't necessarily
absolutely.
have to learn that ourselves in order to be successful. Like if we just focused on buying, raising capital and buying assets, would we have been further along than we are now? I think the answer is yes. I think, well, we would have been further along understanding how to buy and how to raise capital, right? We maybe would have not built a larger portfolio or something like that, but we would have definitely been further along the path in buying and raising.
Quite possibly
I think
separately,
so.
because,
Yeah.
you know, our business partnership is somewhat more new, even though we've known each other
Mhm.
for a while.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so as you know, and have said, and I've said too, like we've tried some different teams, business partners along the way and whatnot.
Mhm.
And it didn't quite work out, right? Not that anyone's a bad person or I don't know what
No,
all your
just things some.
situation, but the people that I had encountered, they weren't bad people. We just ended up not really relating
Mhm.
as much. And I don't think that it would have been a good idea to go in on any properties with them,
It's
like,
interesting. Yeah. I think that should be the topic for our next podcast, which is talking about finding partners and building partnerships because man, um I've been through a few partners myself as well. And it's, it is what it is. Like that's why instead of jumping right into, you know, putting each other on an LLC and being 50-50 partners, you JV for a while. You get to know the person for a while, you date for a while. You don't just jump into a partnership with someone,
Right.
right? You want to see what it's like. So, and the way our mentor talks about it, is you set a time, set a date and time. It's like 90 days. Let's JV for 90 days. And then on day 91, we're going to reconvene. Whether we've made money or not, we're going to reconvene and decide if we want to keep this thing going or not. Right. And that
Right.
way you're getting time. You're not putting a bunch of pressure on each other, and you're giving each other time to learn how each other works. Right. And that's important. And
Well, I think it's you gotta first, right? Like you're not just gonna meet someone and be like, hey, let's start this business dating relationship, right? Like immediately. First, you're gonna be like, hey, let's get to know each other a little bit, right? Let's like do our visions align? Are we, like do we get along?
yeah, what even is our vision? Right.
Yeah. What's the vision? Do we get along? How do we handle certain situations when they arise?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's another thing in part of the past, building relationships. I realized that certain people triggered things in me and I didn't handle it all that well. I'm not saying they didn't handle it not well either, but I didn't have to also handle it not well. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
right.
So along the way you learn and you grow. So I don't think that either of us are even the same people we were like a year ago or two
No,
years
I'm
ago
not.
for
I'm
sure. Like,
definitely
right.
not. Yeah, I'm definitely not. But like so, just like a good partnership can change everything, a bad partnership can also screw everything up, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be really careful. I'll never forget, like this was a while ago, but we went to the bank with my previous partner, and we were getting our bank account set up. And I remember the teller, or it was the bank rep that was helping us. She was basically talking to me, and she's like, okay, so you guys are partners. How well do you know each other? And we had to kind of explain to them, like, because they had some questions for us, because we were both going to be joint uh tenants on the bank account, based joint account holders. And they had questions in it, and we had to answer them. And we realized some of the questions we didn't know each other well enough actually to answer some of the questions. But that's why they had those questions, right? And the bank rep was like, you know, we'll do this, we'll make you guys joint account holders, but I hope you guys know each other well enough to be business partners. Like, she just said it outright. And she said that because she herself had been in a bad business partnership, right? So it's just really interesting. People know, people who've been in business and all that, they know that, again, a bad business partnership can be a freaking disaster. Just the same way a good partnership can just like shoot you both to the moon, a bad partnership can just be a disaster. So be really careful. Date for a while first. We'll talk about more about this. I'd like to talk to some other people, maybe bring some folks in who are in really good partnerships right now and talk to them too. But Pansy and I work well together. We complement each other in certain ways. Like, Pansy's really good. She's very resourceful, and she knows how to find the right people, find the human capital we need. I'm good at systems, underwriting, numbers, that kind of junk. I'm also okay on the phones, right? I'm decent
You're
at
better than okay on the
well,
phones.
I feel like I need to get better on the phones, but communicating with people is something I need to work on, and my sales skills is something I need to work on. Um,
Well, we're not in sales though. We're
we're
in
not really,
buying.
yeah, but
So
we're in a business where it requires negotiation. So either way, right? So, but anyway, so you find someone who you guys both make each other better, and that's a winning recipe, right? And that's what you
yeah.
kind of want to look out for, right? just like any relationship, right? It's just like you should be making each other better, not worse.
Yeah. And
So
we do call each other out on things,
yeah,
which is nice because we
yeah,
could do it, I guess, respectfully is the word that I want
yeah,
to say
yeah,
for them, you know.
yeah,
So, and have those tough discussions. So,
yeah. That's important. That's really, really important. You let those things go, like something's irking you, something's bothering you, and you're not saying anything about it. How's the other person supposed to know, first of all? They can't read your mind.
wait, you can't, you, no,
You
you
can't
can't
read my
read
mind?
them.
Yeah. No, I can't read your, but also it just makes things fester, it makes you resentful, and it'll end up in a blow up, and you don't want that.
True.
You'll say things you don't mean. Just trust me when I say this. Don't let it fester. Have those hard conversations early. Don't be afraid to have those. If you're afraid to have those hard conversations with your business partner, that's not a partnership. You've got someone that's like running the show, and you're somehow intimidated to have those important conversations with them, or you feel like if you do, you're gonna piss them off and they're gonna break up the partnerships. Like if that's how you feel, you may piss them off depending on how you say it. I mean, you don't have to, again, it doesn't have to be disrespectful. It's just a difficult conversation is that way because it's stuff that we don't typically like talking about, right? Um, people's spending habits, for example, like people's organizational habits, people's business decisions that they're making. Like you have to have these conversations as partners, and if you don't, it's gonna be bad. So yeah, that's the other thing. It's like you're finding a partner. It's like, do you make each other better, and can you communicate with each other without being disrespectful to each other, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And
that's
do
what.
we have each other's backs
And do we
though?
have each other's backs? Right,
Like,
right,
can one of
right.
us take time away and things are still going to be moving along? You
Yeah,
know, like
yeah,
that's not my job thing or
right,
whatever,
right.
Um, that's what I look for because
Well, it's never not your job either. It's like, especially in the beginning, it's like you're,
if it's your business, it's right. You have to
yeah,
make sure like you don't always want to do everything in your business, but
yeah,
you have to know that things are at least getting taken care of,
right.
you know. But it's nice to know that you can step away for a minute or whatever when you know you have those partnerships that things are still going to move along and you're not having to stand there and be like, hey, is this happening? Is this happening? You know?
Right.
So,
Yeah, I like that. I mean, for me, it's like, here's a great example. Pansy and I had a conversation the other day. We were talking about like, okay, when we're in front of the team, we're talking to the team, or we've got our team together. Like if I see something that you're doing or saying or something that I don't agree with, or if I have a problem with something you're doing, I'm not gonna just call you out in front of the entire team. Now, there's a fine line there because some things the team needs to hear, right? So it's not about like hiding everything from the team, but like if I have to talk to Pansy about something that's really irking me about something she's doing, or vice versa, I'm doing something that's really irking her that I'm doing, we take it aside. We don't need to have those conversations in front of everyone. You know what I'm saying? And same with you and your business partner. Like you don't need to battle it out or have difficult conversations in front of your whole team, right? So like I used to have a manager. I used to work at UPS back in the day when I was like 18 or 19. And we had a supervisor, and we would every day before the shift started, we would come together as a team, and we would talk about the upcoming shift or whatever. And like this manager guy, he would always freaking call people out in front of the whole team. And it was this like embarrass you strategy, like put I don't know, fear into you or embarrassment into you so that you would improve. it's like the I forget the leadership style that falls under, but it's like leadership through fear kind of crap, right?
Make an example
Making
of
an
type
example,
of
but
thing.
just calling you out in front of the whole team about something you're messing up on, and all it did was make everybody in the team hate this guy, right? And it didn't make us improve. It just built resentment. It built resentment up in everyone. That's all it did. And this supervisor he actually ended up leaving UPS. I don't know if he got fired or what happened. They wouldn't tell us, but I have a suspicion that he probably got let go because no matter which part of the facility he was in charge of, it seemed like it was the same story with everybody in every different department. Like this guy he doesn't know how to lead people. He doesn't know how to train people. He just like tries to hold his authority over you. And that's not how you lead people, you know?
Well, we
Um,
learn and grow along the way, right?
yeah, yeah, we learn and grow
Hopefully
along.
there, I mean,
And I hope for that guy's
that
sake
was
too
like
that he
20
learned.
years ago, right?
Oh
Or so,
yeah,
whatever, 20, 30 years ago. I don't
yeah,
even know. Yeah,
yeah. It
20.
was. It was a long time ago. But and I hope for that guy's sake, I hope for that guy's sake he learned it because it wasn't that he was a bad person. His leadership style was just not good.
Yeah, we don't always get it right. And then again, like when you're at certain places, you're given certain rules and whatever you're supposed to follow things.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about having your own business and being an entrepreneur. Like you don't have to deal with things like that, right? I mean, there's other struggles. You're going to pick your struggle, right? So
Yeah.
I never really, I'm not saying I never had jobs. I had jobs.
Yeah.
It was just, I always knew it was temporary and, it was going to get me by,
Mhm.
like until I found something else, got to make money, right?
Right. Right. I
But
mean,
I,
you
I
do what you
always
have
had,
to.
yeah, I always had kind of like the more of the entrepreneurship type of mindset.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Well, so let's talk to him about where we're at right now, what we're doing, and kind of how we came to this decision. Um, I guess I don't know. I'll start off, but and I'm not even sure if we've already kind of discussed this, but
That's okay.
yeah, it
Other
doesn't
people
really even
tell their
matter.
story like every single time they get on the
I know.
Zoom. We don't have that much time, unfortunately, like
Yeah.
to tell each other's long story. And,
No, I know. And so just so you know, for me, it's actually pretty short and sweet. Like I got to the point in my life, there was one year in my life where I had to move like four different times in one year. It was the worst experience I think I've ever had being on my own and living on my own. And it was a time in my life where like I just did not have my shit together and I was having to move multiple times. I remember I think it was the last move I had to make. I finally got into a place and I said enough is enough, right? And so I started doing the work that needed to be done on myself to get into a career or start learning skills that would put me into a career that would allow me to take care of myself. And then also after that, I decided I wanted to learn how to take care of my finances. Like I was like, you don't get taught this shit. So I'm gonna get on YouTube. I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to learn how to take care of my money. And it inevitably led me down the path of real estate and entrepreneurship and all of that, right? So it just seems like no matter what, if you start learning about personal finance and how to grow your money, how to invest, you're gonna get led back to real estate at some point. So that's what happened. I was fortunate I found Pace Morby and joined his mentorship, and it was kind of game on from there. But the point I'm making is there's something in all of our lives. You're gonna hit a point, and I don't. It's different for everybody, but everybody hits a point where you decide enough is enough. Like that's usually what it takes for you to become a person that's gonna be the type of person that's gonna be wealthy, right? It's not about making the money. It's about the person you become that is able to make that kind of money, right? the kind of value you bring to the marketplace, and just the person you become to get there. And man, there's been some I'm going through another rough situation, right? We're all going through stuff, right? And I don't think it ever stops. My other business partner, Mark, he was in a room with like multimillionaires. There was actually, I think, one billionaire in there, but they were all talking about their life struggles right now. Like, so believe it or not, just because you're wealthy doesn't mean like life stuff still doesn't happen, right? Like health problems, family problems, um, you name it, deaths, um, whatever, right? You name it.
Well, life doesn't stop, just
Right.
like
Life
when you
doesn't
have
stop.
a W-2 or whatever you're doing,
Right.
those things are still all going to be there.
Well,
How
right.
is it that you're going to handle it?
Right.
Obviously, when you have your own business, more of it, the responsibility falls on yourself, right? Versus if you have a W-2, I could call in and they're going to fill in for me, right?
Right. And that's where the discipline part comes in. And again, discipline, what's the definition? My personal definition of discipline is doing the thing that even though you don't want to do it, doing the stuff in your business, doing the stuff in life at the time when you absolutely don't want to do it. That's what discipline is to me. Um,
Yeah, you got to do
and doing it
sometimes.
anyway.
There's a lot of things in life that you're going to have to do whether you want to or not.
Right.
Like none of us get away with it, right? Without handling certain situations,
Right.
regardless, right?
Right.
Um,
So what about you? What was the thing in your life that led you down this path?
there wasn't just one thing. There just like a trickle effect.
Hmm.
And like just even at a young age, I knew I there had to be something different than what my family was doing, right?
Right.
Um, and I would ask questions when I thought I found people that were doing better, and they gave me stupid answers like go to college. And like, you want me to go to college to learn about managing my money? Like,
Yeah, that doesn't work.
I'm like, if I don't want to actually do that for a career, so everything you learned in life, you went to school for, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, there hasn't been school every time. Like, these are questions I say literally out loud. I'm like, there wasn't always schools, right? Somebody knew this stuff. This schools got started because somebody wanted to make money, right? They're like, hey, I know this knowledge. I can teach it to more than one person at a time, right? Now we do it on Zooms. We just don't get paid. Not all of us get paid for it, but whatever. But it was a trick, like just it kept coming around that I needed to do something differently than just make that little bit of money to get me through the day, get me through the week, get me through the month, whatever. And like I went through this really difficult time, health issues, and I kind of like felt like I had a choice, and it was either I'm gonna get the frick up out of this bed and live a better life, and that includes getting my financial, um, all my finances properly in order because I know there's better ways of doing things. And I was also going to help others do that, right? Find people and do all of this. And, that brought me to real estate. That's a good way to invest. I was looking for good people,
Yeah.
people that wanted to help others. So I found Pace,
Mhm.
through other sources of healing and whatever. It's
Mhm.
like I said, it's a long story, but it's all connected when you look at everything. There's, we have to go through certain situations and we have to learn certain things before we actually get to the answers that we're looking for.
Yeah, that's a good point. I sort of did something similar. Like I spent the first probably year, 6 months to a year, and all I was doing was networking. I wasn't like I wasn't working super hard on building the business. I was focused more on just networking with as many people as I could. And that's paid off. Like it really has paid off. Like building those relationships early on and focusing on that for a little bit and building up, and just being around the right people that are doing this stuff and that are good people, it really does pay off. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, some people are not great at that. Some people are not great at networking and are shy, they're introverted. So, it's really difficult for some people. For me, it's not as difficult, but I can see where, some people it's almost painful, right? Because they're just not used to it.
Yeah, I look, I might seem outgoing, but I am really not. I'm
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
really am not that outgoing.
But
I'm
you've had to
when,
change that part of yourself,
right when
right?
I'm walking into anything where I have to show my face, I have to be present or whatever.
Yeah,
I just learned at a very young age, well, you got to do it. Like,
gotta do it. Yeah,
just stand straight, go in there. I've even told my friends, I'm like, I don't give a shit if you're wearing curlers in your hair and you're in your bathroom.
right.
Walk in there
Yeah.
confident as heck and
Right.
just go with
You just do
it.
it. And by the way, this is the thing. This is what's so crazy is that no one actually gives a shit.
No,
That's
they
why
don't.
that's why we're doing that. That's why I'm doing this. Like, guess what? We're gonna do this podcast. Some people may watch it, some people may not watch it. Some people may like it, some people may not like it. Guess what? No one ultimately gives a shit, right? Like it's not, I mean, people will like it or whatever, but it's not
It doesn't
having
make
that kind of.
the business
Well, and
any less.
it doesn't put like a quality grade on you as a human being either. Like, oh, your podcast isn't like the most popular, or like, your hair was out of place this day or whatever. Like, guess
I'm
what?
sure.
Yeah, but this is what we do. Like, we don't do stuff. We won't network with people, or we won't do a podcast. We won't get on social media because we're worried about all these things. Like, oh, I don't have anything to say. I'm not where I need to be. Why would people listen to me?
But
Uh,
we are where we need to be, right? We can't
yeah,
be anywhere except for where we're at because
right.
you can't be in the
Well,
past, you can't be in the future, right?
right.
You
Well,
can
but I would
only
also
be.
argue, like, if you're gonna wait until you're wealthy before you start a podcast, like
That's your
you're
goal.
never, yeah.
Yeah, if that's your goal to start a podcast. I mean, that wasn't really well,
I'm just using an example.
yeah.
I'm just
No,
using
I
an
know, but
example
you
as
got
a
me
podcast.
thinking like because I did start going live before
Yeah,
I even found Pace's community,
yeah, yeah.
because of all the stuff that I had went through and finally, you know, decided I have to share, I have to find people, right?
Right, right.
So
Well, but that's the thing. It's like if you had told yourself, well, I better wait to do that until I'm like a little more established or whatever.
I did, and I stopped doing it. Like
Oh, yeah, you did. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, well, for me, like if I had set that sort of expectation on myself, like, oh, I'm gonna wait until like maybe I have more experience, or maybe until I've done a bunch of deals or what, like I would never have started. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
It wasn't like before, I don't know, I was just scared. Like, I don't,
Yeah,
the whole internet thing,
yeah,
putting my face out there, sharing my story, like I was being raw and talking about a very emotional time. And it was very difficult to share, but I felt that I had to share because I knew other people had gone or were going through things, and they had to know that they could get themselves out of that. That, like that was the biggest thing. Like you hear people saying, there's nobody coming to save you. No, there's
there
not.
is.
There's
Yeah.
absolutely 100% nobody's fucking coming to save you. I'm telling you now.
Well,
So
I would
save your
say
damn
this
self.
though. I would say this. If you build good relationships with people, people will help you, but nobody's gonna save you. Like you've got to do that yourself.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. I had to be the one that really got out there, got
yeah,
myself together. And,
yeah,
I lived with people,
yeah,
but ultimately I had to save myself.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Me too. Me too. And again, you can let that place that you're at right now kind of control you and govern how you feel about yourself, or you can say like, you know what, this is happening for me, and I need to use this as fuel to get to the next stage, right? Because that's what it is. We're just going to new stages, new steps, right? We're slowly going up this ladder in our life, and you just got to get to the next stage, right?
absolutely. And
So
it helps when you have a friend and business partner.
yeah, it does. I think so. I want to kind of leave it at that. I think we'll end it on that one for this podcast. Like I know this one's kind of short, but we're both kind of short on time today. But I think we'll leave it at that. And I think for the next one, we should really focus in on like how to find a partner, right? How to find a business partner, right?
Yeah. And then,
How to find the right business partner.
yeah, maybe. Right.
So
Oh,
and
there,
yeah.
like go back to in that then on the next one, go back to the bank and the questions that they asked you and your other business partner.
Ooh, yeah, I like that. Yeah,
And
I
let's
like
talk
that.
about those.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember every single one of the questions, but there was an application we had to fill out, and it was asking some very general, some basic questions like how long have you been in partnership? How long have you known each other? What's the partnership split? Is what was it? I think did you want one or the other to be custodian of the account? Or are you both going to be custodians of this account? Meaning what um like important decisions, like is there one of you that makes the important decisions, or you both collectively make the important decisions together with regards to financial and banking and all of that, right? So
I guess these are some things we should be discussing,
yeah, well, yeah. Yeah,
eh?
yeah, yeah, because that's what a partnership is.
Yes,
It's not one person controlling everything. That's not a
exactly.
partnership. Right?
Exactly.
It's
That's
not one person making all of the changes and doing all of the work, and the other person is just skating by, right? Both people put in with whatever wherever their skills are. I'm not talking about like going outside your lane. I'm saying like especially when you're first starting a business, you kind of wear all the hats, but you also want to stick with your strengths, and each person should be helping the business like to their best ability, right? It can't just be left up to one person to carry everything,
it's
right?
a partnership. It's
A
not
partnership.
50-50. It's 100-100.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you're bringing
right,
all and I'm bringing all that I have.
right.
And,
To make it do something to build this thing, right? And I don't like again, like I don't need all the money, right? If
I'm
you're
glad you don't. No.
Well, look, like well, what I mean by that is like if you're
Yeah,
not sharing the wealth, if you're not sharing the wealth, like especially with your team, with your partner, and you're the one making all the money, eventually, and Mac said this yesterday, which I don't know if you know who Mac Love is, but he's a friend of ours, and he was on our friend's podcast yesterday, but he was talking about like, look, if his dad told him a long time ago, like, you're not going to be the only one making the money. And if you are, make the only one eating, then you're fitting to be lunch for everybody else. So, because what's going to happen is the people that are working with you are going to come together, and you're going to be the one they come after, right? So you need to be sharing the wealth, and you need to be um, making sure everybody's taken care
you
of.
can't do it alone.
Yeah, and you can't do it alone. Yeah, but anyway, especially not real estate. Like if real estate is
I
something
mean,
you
you don't
guys,
necessarily have to go into partnership with someone, right?
no, no, you
But
don't.
you're still going to end up needing others to help you with the transactions
Yeah.
along the way.
Well,
There's so
this is
many
the
different
point,
things.
right? So this is the point, though. I'm very collaborative. Like
Me
that's
too.
just in my
Me
nature.
too.
I'm very
I
collaborative.
wanted to do stuff with people. I
Yes.
wanted
Yeah.
my friends, my family,
Yeah.
whoever
Yeah.
to also succeed. Like
Yeah.
I could do a lot of things on my own. I
Yeah.
know I can.
Yeah.
I don't need, but I don't want to do
My
all of
my
it.
view is like, what's the fun in that? What are you gonna do? You're just gonna keep
Yeah,
living
I
for
want to
yourself and not,
share. I want to
yeah.
like do cool stuff. You know, I
Right.
want to travel.
Right.
I want to meet more people, do cool stuff. So I don't know if I'll ever do the
Yeah, there's no
snowboarding
fun in
thing, but
keeping it
you know,
all.
there's other stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no fun in keeping it all for yourself. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
That's ridiculous. That's like the Scrooge mentality, right? So, and also what the cool thing about when you work with others, you partner with others, you all get to learn together. That doesn't mean like at some point you can't all kind of go do your own thing for a little while or go do your own thing, right? But why not come together and work with others and build your experiences up together, help each other. You're going to get way further faster if you do it that way, as opposed to trying to figure it all out on your own and figuring out ways where you can make all the money. Like you're just not going to get that far very fast, right? And there are some examples of some very not, in my opinion, not great human beings that have done that feel like they have to step on others in order to get ahead. And
But
they're
we're not going to talk about that.
no, but the excuse is it's just business. That's bullshit, by the way.
Well, we're not that way, and we're not
No,
going to talk about
I'm
that
just
because
saying.
we only attract amazing, awesome people.
That's right. That's right. Because
So
because we're not that way. That's exactly
we
right.
attract what we put out there, right?
Mhm.
So let's
Yeah,
not
the
even
universe
put,
reflects back to you what you project out. So, all right. Well, I think we'll leave it at that. But I hope if anyone watched this, I hope you guys enjoyed it.
if anybody
Um,
watched this. Of course they watched it.
people will watch it eventually. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we're on this journey. We're all on this journey together. And if there's something we can do to help, we'll put a link to um, our calendar, or and we can get on a call, schedule a call and talk to you guys, um, and just keep growing. So, anyways, thanks for showing up. We will be back with another episode soon. So, peace.